Our system will die, and it's dying right now. It will take a few years, but the entire globalist scheme will collapse, and the elites will perish right along with their institutions. And all the conspiracies that spawned our current New World Order will fail and die. How do we know this? Because Revelation 13 describes our system as having been wounded unto death. This means that all the machinations that we are seeing the elites engage in right now will fail. Their conspiracies will fail. Their power will fail. Their wealth will fail. And the Antichrist will not rise until after it fails. And we need to remember that. Welcome to the Shotcast. I'm John Little, recording on a cool Tainan evening on Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. Before going on, hit the subscribe button and click that bell to receive a notification when the next Shotcast happens. And if you like what you hear, hit that like button. All of that really helps get visibility for Megashock and the Shotcast. And if you didn't like it, well, you know what to do. Also, subscribe to the Shock Letter and receive my articles in your inbox at theshockletter.com. You can also find my posts on Facebook and Twitter. I have 2 books that you can read for free for now. They're called When Jacob Returns and Ezekiel's Fire. And believe it or not, there are ways to keep the Shock Letter from going to the spam folder by following certain easy instructions. Oh, and there's a curated list of important articles on this topic and others in the main article on omegashock.com. You can find links for all of that below. Now let's get back to today's topic. Why our system must die and why the elites must perish also. It looks like we have spent way too much time on conspiracy theories and conspiracy facts. And I say that because my inbox continues to be bombarded with email after email describing one conspiracy after another, completely missing the point that the Bible has already made in Revelation 13. So, let's look at that again. Quote, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast." Close quote. Revelation 13, verses 1 through 5. There's a lot of detail in that passage, but we want to focus on one thing and one thing only: the wounded head. It's visibly dead. There might be a tiny, tiny bit of life left in it, but it's not visible to the naked eye. So from our point of view, it's done. Kaput. Pushing up daisies. It bought the farm and is not issuing a refund. What is this head? For an explanation, let's go to chapter 17, starting at verse 9. Quote, "And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not. And the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition." Close quote. Revelation 17, verses 9 to 11. So, at the time of John, 5 of the heads on this beast have died. Only the 6th one is alive, the Roman Empire. The 7th, the one that will rise from the dead, or at least from the almost dead, that one had not arisen at the time of John. What is that 7th head? Or maybe I should ask this question instead: who replaced the Roman Empire? If you read about Nebuchadnezzar's dream in Daniel 2, you'll notice that the image has 2 legs of iron. Those legs are the Roman Empire, which was eventually divided into East and West, or 2 legs. What came after the 2 legs? The feet. Notice that the feet were part iron and part clay. This means that they held similarities to the iron legs, but were also mixed with the mundane, the clay. So the seventh head represents the clay and iron feet of the image in Daniel 2. And since there seems to be a distinction made between the feet and the 10 toes, it would appear that the 10 toes are the resurrected head of the beast of Revelation. Who are the feet? The global system that we have today. And here's what the book of Revelation says will happen to it. Again, quote, one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, from Revelation 13:3. Let that sink in. Think that through. Let it stir around a bit. In fact, let it simmer for 10 minutes before rinsing with cold water. And yes, I do like a good pasta. Now think of all the conspiracies that brought our current system together. I'm sure that you know of quite a few conspiracy facts that created the UN, the Federal Reserve, the IRS, 9/11, the opium trade, the heroin trade, the petrodollar system, the European Union, the military-industrial complex, the assassination of JFK, the rise of Nazi Germany, and many more. All of those are conspiracy facts, and they will all die. All of those conspiracies, and the ones being hatched right now, are going to die. They're going to fall down and collapse, and that collapse is beginning right now. And you need to understand that. Please, I'm begging you, get this into your head. All the conspiracies that have captured our attention will be rendered meaningless in a few short years. And yes, I really mean meaningless. Yes, I know about 5G, Big Pharma, Big Agra, Big Oil. I know about 9/11. I know about what the CIA has been doing. I know how corrupt the UN is. I know about digital currency. I know about ID 2020. I know about Agenda 2030. I know about corrupt Democrats and corrupt Republicans. I know all that. You do too. But it doesn't matter. They will all become meaningless. Over the next few years, all of those conspiracies will collapse and die with the system that they created, and all the elites will collapse with them. It's literally all going to come crashing down, and none of the conspiracy theories and conspiracy facts that are being talked about will matter. It's all going to die. All of it, the whole thing. And we really need to understand this. Oh, and no, the Antichrist is years away from where we stand right now. Those who are proclaiming the rise of the Antichrist are not paying attention to what the Bible says about that. The system must completely fail and be blasted to smithereens before the Antichrist begins to rise. And it will take years for our system to completely die. And there are logical reasons for why the system must die. Our current patchwork of corrupt globalist institutions are incompetent, badly managed, and full of mutually exclusive agendas. They are greedy, bloated, and deeply inefficient. Yes, they continue to do great damage to us, but the ability to do damage does not equate to effective power and authority. It might be hard to see how the system has been collapsing under the weight of its own corruption, but it's there, and it's happening. And there are several astute observers who have been describing this collapse for years. And the most accurate of all of them is Martin Armstrong of Armstrong Economics. Martin Armstrong believes that our global system will hit rock bottom in 2032. That's his turning point for the creation of the new system. And it will take time for that system to rise to full power. And yes, I know that Armstrong isn't a prophet with special visions from God, but his observations over the past 40 years have been uncanny. Every time that I've disagreed with Martin, I've been proven wrong. So betting against him is probably a bad idea. And the fact that his observations seem to agree with the Bible, well, that's pretty powerful. But whether you agree with Armstrong or not is unimportant. It doesn't matter if our system dies before 2032 or after 2032. Our system is going to die. Only then, after it dies, will the Antichrist system begin to rise. Only after. So please get this right. It's from the Bible itself. The Antichrist will not rise until after the current system dies. It's what the Bible actually says. And it's important that you understand this because you are in the path of this global system death. A lot of people are going to die, and I do not want you to be one of them. So please stay focused on what is coming. Yes, there are some awful conspiracies happening right now. I get that. They're really bad. But they don't matter because they will fail. So please be careful to not be distracted away from your primary focus. Your attention should be on what the Bible says, and you won't know what it says if you aren't reading it. So for all of you who aren't reading through the Bible, all of it, cover to cover, now is the time to start. Read a portion every day until you get through the whole Bible, and then repeat, and keep repeating until you draw your last breath. There is no way that you're going to get through this if the words of God are not at the center of your life. That's it for this Shockcast. If you appreciated this video, hit like, then hit subscribe and that little bell. Also, leave a comment. I look forward to seeing what you have to say about what was said here. Your input is truly welcome. You can also get my articles and updates in your inbox through the Shock Letter at theshockletter.com, and read my books for free, When Jacob Returns and Ezekiel's Fire. They just might save your life.